Hey guys, Tyriders 2 here. I decided I would go ahead and continue vlog rambling. Oh, sirens going off in the back. We just had another storm late last night. I was up last night talking to Blue Mages again. Beside that, I'm going to go back into movie nitpicking, because I love to movie nitpick. Which, by the way, guys, those of you who can, send me some responses of movies you nitpick. Movies you love, but you just want to nitpick the shit out of. Now, to be honest, I'm a huge horror fan. My personal favorites, I love teen slashers, I love zombie movies, and I really love fucked up genre, or fucked up shock, extreme horror movies. In particular, a perfect example is the Human Centipede's first sequence. Really, that movie is really fucked up. Oh, God. Now, and I'm also a huge fan of the old school horrors. Now, like back in the earlier days, like the 70s and 80s slashers. Well, I already said that. I love slasher movies. Regardless of what people say, yeah, they're repetitive. Yeah, it's usually the same story. But still, there's a charm in some of the episodes or some of these movies that make you love them. For me, anyways. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they have some really creative deaths. Some of my personal favorites, one of mine being Happy Birthday to Me. Well, that's actually, I thought it was pretty good. Well, besides that point, on to the nitpicking. Oh, my other favorite's The Burning. Oh, anyways, on to the nitpicking. One of my favorite films of all time is Dario Argento's Suspiria. I love that movie to death, and it's actually the movie that got me into Dario Argento's work. That got me into watching that. However, there is one thing that always bugged me about that movie. It's fucking title. Now, not the title itself. It's a pretty I've never heard that name before, other than that movie. It's its logo. Now, they have this logo in the U.S. cut of the U.S. trailer for that movie. But it just looks awkward and weird. Now, I'm not sure if the U.S. just did this just for the sake of doing it, but it doesn't even look like it came out of a horror film, the logo. I mean, look at it. It looked like either two things. One, it's for a kid's cartoon, like an alien kid's cartoon or something. It looks like it looks like if you change the words around, it would say Kirby. Yeah, that would look kind of weird. And two, it looks more like some sort of candy that they're trying to distribute to kids. Right? Come get Lucky Charms with marshmallows, Suspiria, and Suspiria marshmallows. Veiny marshmallows. You can spell a word and whatever. Anyways, it looks like some sort of candy that they're trying to distribute to kids. It just doesn't look like something out of a horror film. Now, my guess is it would look different if it were made this year, made in this time. It is a recognizable movie, not really so much for its scare, because it does get kind of intense, kind of tense at points. And yeah, probably the most memorable scene is the double murder scene, in which even though that set of eyes still kind of freaks me out when I see it. Even though I know, you ever get that kind of movie where you know something's coming and it still scares you regardless of what happens? You see it coming and you count the seconds back and it still frightens you. There's that scene right before the girl gets killed, when she looks out the window and she sees two pairs of yellow eyes. And I always think that they're further away, but every single time I look at that scene, they get closer and closer and closer. I'm like, what the hell, man? That's not cool. Anyways, yeah, the logo looks weird, and it just looks kind of out of place. That's my only nitpick with that movie, and it's not that big a deal, but I just thought it looked kind of weird. And plus, looking at it pulsating, you can obviously tell, I'm showing the this is basically just a reused cut of the pulsating logo, and basically all it is plastic used around it. I'm not sure, but I watched this movie when I was 12, and I think that they used a that they used that title for a cut version of that movie. I watched this movie with a friend of mine when he spent the night with me. He left the room and I sat and watched the movie. To be honest, the only part that frightened me was the double murder scene. Well, no, sorry, scratch that. It was the eyeballs. God damn it, those eyeballs. Usually it takes a lot to get to me, but it's one of those moments where you know it's coming, but it still fucking scares you. It's kind of irritating. Sorry to be repeating myself. Another thing, I guess another movie I nitpick a lot would probably be some of the J-horrors that I watch. Because I'm actually a huge fan of J-horror as well. My favorite director is Takashi Miike. Really good, really competent director, and he's also very creative. A very creative director. His films can be very, very surreal and very beautiful, but also very unsettling and very creepy. And that's what I like about him. Even though Gozu I thought to be one of the biggest mindfucks I've ever seen. Then again, I think both Gozu and another movie called Id were pretty fucking weird. Well, besides that, the one thing I didn't quite get regarding some of the J horrors, one in particular, there's one called there's Tetsuo the Iron Man. Now, this one, as I remember, is heard a lot by fans as being a cult classic. I actually did hear that Tetsuo the Iron Man was a cult classic. There's one little nitpick in the movie. Can somebody tell me what was the fucking point of the people being there? Those random people that just hop around and scream like idiots. I never understood that. I never understood why they just hopped around like fucking idiots and screamed. I thought this was about a guy who grew metal out of his body. He had various parts of metal and everything, and they had... Actually, the girls in there were pretty hot, too. Yes, there were girls. But that movie is fucking warped. I would recommend it to anybody. That movie is warped. Not as in, like, mind-fuckingly warped, but it's pretty insane. And the movie's short, too. About 64 minutes, but it goes by so fast. Another favorite movie of mine, probably one of my favorite Takashi Miike movies of all time, or it's the one that made him famous, Audition. I never saw Visitor Q, but I liked Gozu and I liked Ichi the Killer. I also liked, I said Tetsuo the Iron Man. I also like Strange Circus for its its very creative beautifulness, stuff like that. Yeah, are any of you guys fans of J-horror, or any of you guys horror fans at all? I know Daydream Fiction is a fan of horror. I like slashers, but I also like a variety of horror films, not just that. The only ones I hate are, well, to be honest, vampire and werewolf horror films. They're so repetitive. Sorry, guys. I'm not a fan of vampire films. More things that are more realistic. Well, anyways, I think I'm about running out of time here, so I will catch you guys on the flip side. I'm Ty Rudders too, and I'll catch you later.